What's up, guys? You like the fro? All right. So I finally decided that I'm going to tell you guys about what's really happening in my life. In fact, I'm going to tell you about my entire life, not in just this one video. Not in this one video. The profile photo for this video is 2020 in Chantilly, Virginia. It's at the Hyatt. Um, it's where I started working on drive mix game, and it's also where um, marks the turning point and the beginning point of my journey into a lot of darker sides of the world that we live in. Most of my life, I have had an attraction, an inclination to be a photographer, be an artist. So I went to art school, I went to Purchase, I went to Lehman. And my grandmother, may God rest her soul. Hey, Merry Christmas, by the way, to everybody out there. Merry Christmas. My grandmother was pretty big avid amateur photographer as well. Let me move that camera down here. Move it down here. Now, it took me a while to get over a couple of things before I started to speak up again. But as you guys know, and maybe you don't know, somebody stole my social security number and my phone number and my email in early 2023. And they put it on the dark web. I don't know what capacity, but they did. They put it on the dark web. And it has been a psychological struggle because my life hasn't really been good since then. I'm not blaming my life or my actions on that. It's just been a psychological struggle. Oh, it's my cousins. Look at that. Yeah, photo I got right there. I used to play basketball when I was younger. The thing about having your social security stolen is it makes you wonder, why would somebody do that? I'm, on paper, nobody special. On paper in a computer system. I don't have millions of dollars. I have debt. Truck driver. Nothing special, right? At least not in this world, So I wondered, well, why would somebody do that? What would be the reason behind it? And I don't have all the answers. I'm not, someone who can get all the answers for that. But I always wondered why, And the only thing I could think of is that, maybe somebody wanted to assume my identity, or maybe it was about money. I don't know. But I never really found out or heard anything about it. Hey, there's Ty. Best rapper in Nyack, New York, right there. It's Ty Bennett. What are you? Oh, I gotta read your name. Olga Herrera. How you doing there, Olga? Oh, bro, what are you? Are the best, bro. So one of the interesting things is that, sometimes people come up to you and they ask you questions and they kind of challenge you, like, are you you? Of course I'm me. But, to the outside world, you have to defend yourself sometimes. And especially now, like if you see what's going on in the news, there's a lot of, ICE agents moving around. And I understand because I'm from New York. And if you're from New York, you've been profiled before. You know what that is. You know what it's like. It's not anything special that you need to overreact to. Like people profile. It's the United States of America. You know what I mean? That's what happens. But if you're from New York, you're a little bit more used to it, you know. So I'm digging through my photos here. You know, my grandmother was an avid photographer. She would take a lot of photos of a lot of things. And I kind of picked it up, and I really documented and I shot photos my whole life. Videos too. And I finally got to the point now where I've gotten, you know, so much pent up angst that I've decided, you know what? I'm gonna start posting some of these photos and videos, and I'm gonna tell you the story, and I'm gonna tell you some of the stuff that happened to me when I was overseas and some of the darker things that I ended up getting into and being around. There was a lot of people in my life who introduced me to photography. Probably the second person was Terry Towery at Lehman College. There's a photo of me shaving back in Congress, New York, where I grew up. And, you know, back then we used to shoot on, like, film. You shoot on film. If you're basically younger than the age of 35, you probably don't know what I'm talking about. But film is a lot better. And if you watch older movies, they have a certain quality about them. Like if you watch Heat, if you watch The Matrix, they have a certain quality about them. And it's because it was shot on film. There's certain things that, like, film quality brings out that you just can't get from, like, digital. Not to say that digital is good or bad. I'm just saying it's a matter of preference. I was, because this is a live, I had the opportunity to study photography with Nicholas Minarovic in New York City. He's a professional photographer. My next door neighbor when I was a child, she's actually a professional photographer. I believe to this day her name is Sassy. And I also learned a lot about photography from a guy named Jameson Moon. He taught me about wedding photography. There was a time in my life where I was a professional photographer, you know, for a very short period of time, but I was. In this day and age, if you don't tell your life story, somebody will tell it for you. And that's kind of what's going on in the world right now. Is like if you see in the news, and I don't watch the news that much, but like you see like ICE, you know, finding people to deport from the United States of America, right? So everybody has a story, but if you don't tell yours, there are people who like to profit in the background from telling that story for you. You know what I mean? They like to paint a picture around you and claim this is who you are, this is who you should be, or this is who we don't want you to be, or what we don't want you to be a part of. You know, that's why it's important to tell your story. She's one of my best friends in high school, Jessica. I haven't seen her. I've been looking for her on Facebook. We went to Jamaica when I was 19. That's her boyfriend. I went by myself because I was a player. You know, it is what it is. You know, don't take sand to the beach. That's what it was. I was 19 years old. And I've always been shooting photos, videos, just documenting stuff. Oh, Merry Christmas, guys. Look at this. It's a photo of my Uncle Lucky. He passed away 2018. He lived in Astoria, New York. There's another Christmas photo. Oh my gosh. My sister's going to be mad at me. Look at that. My sister's going to be pissed. Oh my gosh. Look at that old Christmas photo right there. So, I don't know what happened with all of that information, but I have an idea. And I took the appropriate actions to find out what happened. More recently, I've had some issues where some things have been happening with my mail. You know, stolen mail, people having access to your mailbox, you know, just saving the mail, you know, reporting it, you know, things like that. Oh man. Wow. Dude. My hair looks the same. At least I got my hair. You know what I mean? Hair looks same. I'm looking for this one photo, though. I got to find you this one photo because my grandmother, who's passed away now, God rest her soul, wrote me a note on the back of it, you know. And that's what was cool about her. She would always, you know, leave little messages and gems in there so she can talk to you from the other side, you know. She does. Oh my gosh. Wow, this is way back, dude. Way back. Way back. Oh my gosh. Was that Lauren? Sasha? It's myself. It's a new city, New York. So, over the past 3 years, I've been trying to figure out who's either been trying to be me or who has decided that I don't deserve to have access to being me, which I don't know why somebody would think that. I can understand if you would steal somebody's social security number if you're like, you know, somebody's like 16, 17 years old, but somebody who's like in their 40s, you know what I mean? With work history and stuff. It's like it's 2025, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard to do that. So I think, I don't know. I really want to show you guys this photo. That's my cousin. Either way, it's been a challenge, it's been a struggle, but, you know, so much stuff has happened to me, and, you know, I've always been a private person. I'm someone who doesn't really like to talk about things, and I don't really post a lot. And recently I got back on Facebook because I had to make sure that that was my account, and I still need to, get a check mark for it. But, you know, because obviously somebody out there may still be trying to pretend to be me. But all you can do is be yourself anyway, you know. And it's strange the things that happen to me, you know, with my mail now and, you know, the people that come up to me. But I understand why people ask me questions because I'm a black guy and I live in South Dakota. Yeah, I live in South Dakota. So, you know, a lot of people will be like, whoa, who are you, where you're from? And I understand that because if you're from New York or the New York area, you know what it's like to have tough skin. And when I was younger, I used to go into the city a lot. I used to go to Astoria with my family. I used to go out to Long Island. And even now, like the suburbs, Rockland County is basically the city now. You know, things have changed quite a bit. But you still got to be yourself, you know. Oh, there's Rob. There's my Uncle Rob. He's in California. Anyway, I can't find you guys this photo, but my grandmother, who was one of those people, and most people will probably say this, you know, about their grandparents. You know, she was one of those people that had like a real good, true heart, but she also knew how evil the world was. And like, if you know, showed yourself that way, she would get on you, you know, she would. She knew both sides. She knew the good and the evil. She really did. She really did. And in my quest to document my life and my travels and places that I've been, people that I might meet, I've been to some dark places. I have been to some good places. I've been to some dark places. As a professional career, you'd call it like photojournalism, right? You'd be a reporter, you know. But most of my life I've been a truck driver. And I've always bounced between the two, you know, my creative side and, you know, maintaining yourself, making money, which we all do, you know. But my grandmother was somebody who, you know, in my mind I felt was one of those people who was like one of those last few people that had like a good true heart, you know what I mean? Like a real, like, true heart, like one of those unbreakable people, you know. And it was sad when she passed away. And I wasn't there either. I was in Texas when she passed. And when my Uncle Lucky died, that's his nickname. I was in Florida. He passed away in New York. He was a driver like me too. So, what's the point of me making this video, this live, right? What's the point? What do you say, Dexter, right? What's the point? The point is that you're going to be you either way, no matter what happens to you in this world. How people might label you or say who you are or how you should be. You're going to have to be you. You know, it's the only way. Because from the outside looking in, everybody's going to have an opinion of who you are and what you should be and how you should act and where you should go and where you shouldn't go and what you should say and what you should not say and do you deserve your civil rights or not. You know, that's the way the world is. There's always somebody there who wants to intercede and impede your progress. And it's rarer and rarer to find people that actually want to assist you and help in your progress. Oh, wow, man. That's me and Mike. SUNY Purchase, New York. We used to rap back then. I mean, a lot of people used to rap. I used to rap, but I played basketball for a little bit there. For a little bit. So at the end of the day, this whole experience of my life traveling around, being semi-successful as a truck driver and more struggling as an artist, you know, I realized something. It's not really about the success story. It's about, did you do it? You know, did you accomplish and did you be who you are? And did you create or did you make or did you document enough to make a movie, a story, something that would be, you know, tantalizing, you know, to an audience? And in that case, yes, I did. I did. And I've just realized that now is a good time to really start to tell people what's really been going on, you know, in my life and in this world. Sorry, I'm just ripping through some of these old photos here. Oh my gosh, it's absolutely nuts. So I don't know what's going to happen to me. I thought for a while somebody was either going to, you know, rob me or arrest me, because when I first came back to the United States, I actually got pulled over 3 times. 3 times. Now, I understand. I know there is some profile in America, but I don't look at it that way. You know what I mean? I grew up in an area that was very, very diverse. A lot of Italian Americans, a lot of Jewish Americans, a lot of black Americans, you know, a lot of people from all over the world. That's what New York basically is. It's a melting pot, right? So I was just curious, though. I was like, wow. I was like, really? I'm talking about like in one trip, like one weekend, I got pulled over 3 times. And I was like, oh, man, I ain't arrested or anything. But every one day I was like, dang, man, you know, is somebody, you know, solving a case about someone who stole my identity? I don't know. But I mean, that was a bit of a shock. You had to get pulled over 3 times. I was like, okay. But I'm out here driving a truck, you know, and if you've noticed in the news, you see how hard the U.S. government and Trump is like cracking down on driver's licenses. Well, I'm still here. So, I mean, and I've spoken to some people, so they know, you know, I think they know that I'm me. Never found out why, though. Never found out why. So I did a lot of traveling, you guys know. And I've seen a lot of places in this truck too, you know, the truck traveling around. And I've always been like a quiet person, you know what I mean? I just go out, live my life, handle my business. I never really was someone who wanted to try and get, you know, in people's business or, you know, have like the major ego, like y'all gotta pay attention to me, you know, all that beating your chest stuff. You know, I'm not really into that, but I do realize that there are some things that I've seen and things that I never talked about, you know, all the way back to when I was in Texas, and even when I was a teenager, when I used to hang out on the New York City club scene, which isn't what it used to be. If any of you guys have ever been to New York City, the New York City club scene was a lot different back in the early 2000s, late 90s, a lot different. Met some good people there, good DJs, you know. World's changed a lot ever since the invention of the smartphone, you know. Back then it was a lot different. It's a lot different. And, you know, I hung around a lot of interesting people that shaped me in the dark and the light, you know what I mean? And, of course, everyone's going to have their own opinions about my life and how I've lived it and where I am, you know, everyone's going to have their opinion. You know, for example, you know, I like Dali. I like Salvador Dali. He's a little bit crazy, but most of the modern art painters, you know, were you know, street characters. You know what I mean? And they were into the more what do you say? Things in society that most people wouldn't get into. You know what I mean? Absinthe and you know, prostitutes. You know what I mean? And then they would go create, right? So I've always had an artistic side, and a lot of people may question how I've lived my life and like the way I've taken it, but it all comes from when I was younger and just, you know, a desire to go out and be creative. I remember I used to sit in my room, and there's a mountain range in Rockland County, New York, on the Hudson Valley, and you could see it, you know, from the window. Looking out the window of my room, and I always used to wonder when I was a kid, like, well, what's over that mountain? You know what I mean? I've always had that like sense of adventure. And even though now I think about getting into different careers, you know what I mean? Because I do like animals. You guys know that. I like animals. You know, I decided to drive a truck when I got out of college. And there was a need for money there, too. There was a need for money. My father died when I was really young. But, you know, I need something now to, like, motivate me. And I realize I have this huge collection of photos and videos and places that I've traveled and people that I met, you know, and it's time to compile it all and just, you know, tell my side of the story, you know, because like I said, if you don't, somebody's going to make up a story for you and say, this is who this person is. And in this day and age, it's very important that you don't do that. You have to express yourself. And it's really kind of become the norm. Just be yourself. I mean, I think that is like the business model for like 2025 and 2035, right? If Gary Vee was here. If you guys don't know, Gary Vee is an author. You know, how do you not know Gary? You know who Gary Vee is. That's basically what it is. So, you know, I've just gotten to that point now where I'm like, yeah, I think I've seen enough, you know, of exploring different cultures and religions and people and places and governments, you know. I think I've seen enough, you know, to put something good together. But more importantly, you know, enjoy your holiday, whatever you celebrate. You know what I mean? Enjoy your holiday. But it's gotten to that point now where it's like you have to be yourself. That's the way the world is. You got to be yourself. And if you're not, I mean, you can really get caught up in some crap. You know what I mean? That's the way it is now. And if you watch the news, like, you see what it is. I'm like, it's so chaotic now. You know, the things that happen. Like, why do people hack into people's phones? Why do people steal people's mail? Why do people, you know, profile? Why do people, you know, put military bases here and there? And, you know, why is there beef between these two countries? And it's just wild. It's out of control, bro. So you might as well just be an individual and be yourself. You know what I mean? Why do people, you know, mess with people's YouTube views? You know, I don't know why they do that either. It's not like I'm making a lot of money, right? I don't make a lot of money off of YouTube. It's YouTube. It's a channel. Who doesn't have a YouTube? Who doesn't have a social media platform in this day and age? But this world has an underworld. It does. It does as an underworld. And I spoke to my cousin recently. I spoke to, and I still speak to, one of the younger women that I met on my first trips to the Dominican Republic. You know, I always photograph people. I always take photographs of people, you know, try and get their story. And I was kind of talking about some of the things that happened to me, you know. And a lot of people were, you know, encouraging me to, like, you know, just keep pushing forward. You know, it's like, wow, man, like, you know, there's some darker sides to that place, you know. It's a very popular tourist destination, but I mean, there's some darker sides to it. There really are. And some of it to this day that I still don't understand. And I'm really glad now, like, talking to some people that I know, that I got out of it. You know, I got out of there, you know, alive. Seriously, I'm not joking. Beautiful place. Met a lot of good people. But, you know, the world has its own power structures that some of us just weren't intended to understand, and you may not want to understand, and you may not want to understand how ugly it gets. You know, it really is ugly. That's it. I got to get to work. I really wanted to find you guys that photo, though. I really did. Let me try one more time. Let me just try one more time and find you guys this photo, but my grandmother wrote me a note on the back of it. And if I can't find it, maybe I'll get it to you next time. But I don't even know what's going on with my channel. You know, I don't post that much anymore. Obviously, my content has changed over the years, but, you know, I just wanted to come on here and say, you know, I haven't lost my mind or anything like that. Just been doing my thing. And what I mean by that is just, you know, collecting and creating and taking the journey of life. But, you know, I'm getting to that point now where I'm getting a little bit older, and I think you guys would be really, really interested in some of the stories and places that I've been. And I got the photos and videos to back it up, corroborate it, whatever you want to call it, you know, whatever you want to call it. But, dang, that's a crazy photo too. I don't think I'm going to find it. There's a lot of photos in here, but I hope you guys are all well. I really do. I hope you're all well. And I hope you have a wonderful holiday. And don't be afraid to be yourself. You know, a lot of people these days are really going hard on, you know, putting people in the box. Like, you know, this is you know, this is who you got to be. I'm going to put you in this box real quick. I found it. It's on Long Island. It's my, that's all. What year is this? Oh, my grandmother wrote a note on the back of it, so I'm going to read it. Here's the note. All right. It's 11/24/05. I'm not going to read the last name of that side of my family, but it says family in Elmont. Yep. Dear Dexter, since you are one of my favorite grandsons, I just love to let you know how proud I am to be your grandma. You have reached the age I was when I started reading the Bible. I just can't tell you what a blessing you will receive. You can start with Psalms 2:11-12. You guys should read that. It's good, actually. You know, whether you believe in God or not. This is Thanksgiving. My grandmother wrote that. Yeah, no, for my grandmother. For those of us who are like me and have chosen the less beaten path in life, you know, don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. Because it's likely way more interesting and the stories are so much better. You know, there's a movie, 310 to Yuma, and I'm getting off of this, I gotta go. The newer version with Christian Bale and Russell Crowe. And Christian Bale grows up and he joins the army. And Ben Wade is like orphaned at like 3 years old. But his mother leaves him like a Bible, you know. And they end up crossing paths in the movie. And, you know, it's interesting because it's a juxtaposition, because that movie is a gauge of who you are as a person. Ben Wade is a criminal. He's a straight up criminal, but in reality, he is a righteous, like a morally righteous man, because he's taken the opportunities he's had in life and he's made the most of it. He's someone who takes action. On the other hand, Dan Evans, Christian Bale, he's somebody who believes that he is a good person because he's, you know, abided by these man-made laws, you know. So he, he should be respected, but he's not respected. He's weak, And that movie is a good barometer to find out like where you are as a person. Where do you stand on that line? Are you somebody who is just going to sit here and be like, oh, this is what it is, you know what I mean? I don't know why things didn't work out. Or are you just somebody who's going to take action because you didn't have a choice to, you know what I mean? And sometimes that's what life does to us, is it pushes us to a point where you have to make a move. You have to become yourself. You have to step out of your shell and be like, yo, this is who I am. There's no point of holding any punches anymore. And I was watching a clip on the news today, and they were saying how the U.S. government has access to hack like 300,000 foreigners' phones. And if you think about it, 5 people know 5 people, so basically they hack everybody's phone. You know what I mean? Everybody's phone's hacked. And if you believe the U.S. government isn't hacking U.S. phones, then I'm like, the Chinese government's hacking our phones. So I'm like, people know who you are. It is what it is. You're just going to be who you are. So just live it out loud. I mean, it's the new world. It's the new economy. Be yourself. Me, I'm a truck driver. Soon to be, though, more of an artist. And I hope you guys enjoy some of the stuff that I make, whether it's on this channel or another channel. But definitely happy to be alive. Definitely happy to be me. I wonder if my family's going to call me, though. That I'm wondering. They're going to call me this Christmas. I don't know. Haven't heard from them too much. I just speak to my daughter. She's happy. My daughter's cool as hell. My daughter's cool. She's cool as hell. She probably gets some of that from me. She probably gets some of it from her mom. She's cool as hell. My daughter's cool. Enjoy the things in life that you can, while you can. I'm about to go for real, but I was listening to Incubus the other day. You guys don't know it's a band, There's a lyric to one of their songs, I don't know the name of it, but it's don't let the world bring you down. Not everyone here is that fucked up and cold. Remember while you're here and while you're alive to experience the warmth before you grow old. All right, I'm out of here, y'all. See you later.